Basara, 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 Sengoku no Basara, 大地にバサラ、天下をバサラ、目指すバサラ、バサラ。God, I hope I heard those lyrics correctly.
Welcome to this episode of Review Corner, brought to you today by Lella and Kiri-chan, who are going to talk about Sengoku Basara. This episode will contain spoilers and all of the Mirio flail we are unable to hold back. Sengoku Basara is based on a video game and an anime by the same name. It's a Hanagumi show from 2013, and it was Mirio's first appearance since changing troops. To start off, it might be best to explain the title. Sengoku is the name of one of the time periods in Japanese history, and it means civil war or warring states, and Basara means to act without self-restraint, so the title can be translated as The Warring States Do As You Please. Since the story is set during the Sengoku period, many of the characters are historical persons, although their characterizations and outfits are not to be deemed as accurate. Quickfire history about Sengoku. It lasted for roughly 100 years, from the second half of the 15th century until the second half of the 16th century. It was a time when both the emperor and the shogun, the military leader, were weak and essentially powerless, and the country split into smaller regions run by local leaders called daimyos. It was Japan's Wild West, and it was during this time that firearms were starting to circulate in the country. Oda Nobunaga was one of the daimyo who was really successful in his usage of firearms. Oda was also the person who started trying to unify Japan, but he was betrayed by Akechi Mitsuhide and carried out seppuku in a burning building. Akechi was later defeated by Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who was a follower/ally of Oda's. Oda Nobunaga is arguably one of the most important people in Japanese history, and while he is known as a brutal leader, he is also still very popular. He is the number one villain of this show, and even though all of the regions are enemies in one way or another, he's kind of the main villain that they join together to defeat. He also does not appear physically in the Takarazuka show, but he is mentioned, and so is Akechi Mitsuhide, who betrayed him. The premise of the plot of Sengoku Basara is that there are states at war with each other, and they quite like fighting and admire each other's fighting skills, and they fight honorably, although I can't really wrap my head around what the rules for honorable fighting is. This is a quite reasonable premise for a combat game, but when adapted into a storyline, it becomes absolutely hilarious. A lot of the characters and their relationships to each other are compelling because they become allies and friends while they are fighting off common enemies, but then go back to being enemies afterwards. And if they all had Facebook accounts, their relationship statuses to everyone would be, it's complicated. I hope that makes you understand how complex everything about this show is.
Nothing makes sense.
But it's wonderful.
Nothing makes sense.
I really, really love it.
The points don't matter.
What was your first opinion about Sengoku Basara when you first watched it?
Let's see, I'm trying to remember. I watched the TSA special clip of Mirio in the Kenshin costume a very long time before actually watching the show, and was like, oh my goodness, that's such a beautiful costume, Mirio! So but have only recently got around to watching the show, and like instantly became the trashiest of Kenshin trash, now that you can tell by looking at my blog.
The thing about the TCA special, though, is that she's wearing death hair, but it's the Kenshin outfit, and she is looking for her Kenshin hat that she's missing. And it's great and fabulous, and everyone should watch the TCA special. It's from 2014, I think. And everyone should watch Sengoku Basara too, as well, of course, obviously, because we're talking about it today. Hi.
Obviously.
The stage setting of this show is kind of dark. What was your opinion on it?
Like the actual set? It was cool. Because they were doing it in Drama City, right? So it wasn't one of the usual Takarazuka theaters. It was a different theater that they sometimes
Yeah, I don't think it was Grand Theatre anyway.
No, it was Drama City in Tokyo, or at least that's where it was
It
filmed,
says
I think.
Tokyo Theatre Orb on Takawiki.
Oh, it was a different one. Okay.
But at least,
Yeah,
yeah, it
like,
wasn't
different.
it wasn't the big stage.
Yeah, but it's one that's one they haven't really used much, but they used it really well, and they made a really good set. And I was really surprised by how well some of the special effects worked. They actually managed to make it work better than the live action TV series, which I mean, it probably had a lower budget, but it relied on like stock footage and some like more cutscene like things. Whereas the Takarazuka show blended it a lot better, and the fact that actual pyrotechnics happened at some point is, you know, a major point in its favor, because I always need more things on fire. I'm not sure if it was actual pyrotechnics, just really well faked ones, but it was like, yes, please set things on fire.
Setting things on fire will always get Kitty-chan excited, apparently. So now you know, if you want to woo her, you know what to do. Basically, put yourself on fire. Yeah. It's going to be great.
It's like, Takarazuka has already set my heart on fire. need to set the actual stage on fire. But no, the effects were really good. Although I think at one point they were using strobe lights.
But not to a ridiculous degree, like not to a degree where I couldn't handle it, I felt.
Yeah, because I think I've seen some strobe lights where I was like, oh no, don't do that. But I think in this case it was really
they
effective.
do it when they're using the LED screens in the back to show off special effects. So at some points they duck behind these screens, and then they turn up on the screen as like a super huge version of themselves, and then they like have a battle, and then they can have the special effecty lights and stuff. And I think they might have done some strobe lights at that point. But I guess I didn't notice it then, because I was kind of expecting it due to it being very special effecty already. I mean, there's like a flash of lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
Flash of lightning.
Yeah, they had really good special effects and fight choreography for Takarazuka. Like, definitely up there with a lot of the best fight scenes.
And I also love the lightsaber battle. I know it's not a lightsaber actually. It's a light katana and a light tridenty thing, but it's still.
Yeah, but they glow. They glow. That's that counts. That's the rule.
I really like it. I was like, oh my god, this is 15th century Japan, but we're gonna have lightsabers. It's great. That's what's gonna happen here.
Everything's better with lightsabers.
Right. So, shall we move on to the next part? Would you like to talk about our main character and his crew, Sanada Yukimura, played by Ranju Tomu?
Yeah, okay, so we have like the group from the Kai daimyo area, like the fief or whatever, which is the ruler of Kai, who is Takeda Shingen, who's kind of the mentor / father figure to Sanada Yukimura, who is played by our top star Ranju Tomu. There's also Inori, played by Ranno Hana, who's kind of she's the main female romantic lead. And then the other main character from Kai is Sarutobi Sasuke, played by Nozomi Futo. And he's Sasuke is Sanada Yukimura's vassal, basically, like bodyguard.
Yeah, I think though that it's Takeda Shingen who is the actual Oyakata-sama leader of all of them. But Sasuke, he also follows Yukimura's orders as well.
Yeah, he mainly hangs out with Yukimura, basically.
And it's so good. Daimon, her Sasuke, is cockier than the Sasuke in the anime. And basically, she has a frame around her face for the entire show. And I'm like, who else would pull off having a frame around their face for like an entire 2 to 3 hours? No one but Daimon. Daimon kills it. It's so good. Yep.
Yes. Best snarky ninja. Please, more snarky ninjas for Daimon. But yeah, if I could talk about Sanada Yukimura for a minute. Because in the Takarazuka show, he's more of a straightforward Takarazuka hero. But, which kind of... Because shockingly, Takarazuka managed to make this franchise more serious. Usually they're making things more ridiculous, but somehow this franchise was so absurd that when Takarazuka got their hands on it, it became more sane. It's one of the most incredible things. But because Sanada Yukimura in the Takarazuka show, he's more of a pure-hearted, fighting for good hero. But in the I have not watched the anime, but in the Tokusatsu show, he's a giant dork. It's really funny. It helps that he's played by a Kamen Rider actor whose main big role has been another giant dork. But yeah, it's hilarious. And Yukimura inevitably has a shirt in the Takarazuka show, because like the main supporting role of the Tokusatsu series is kind of Yukimura's abs, and that really does not work in Takarazuka. No, the camera was like, oh yes.
They are very into the muscles in the anime as well, definitely. There's a lot of muscle flexing and a lot of people having lots of muscles.
And then we have Takeda Shingen, who really does not have a really big role in the Takarazuka show. It's an important part, but it doesn't come with tons of stage time. But yeah, he's really cool. I love the axe. I'm just like, yes, that's awesome. It's so ridiculous, but it's awesome.
Takeda Shingen and Sanada Yukimura, they have this thing going on where they fight each other, like they spar, and then they call out each other's names. So Sanada Yukimura will call out Oyakata-sama to Takeda Shingen because he is his Oyakata-sama, he's his lord.
That's like his
and then
title.
Takeda Shingen will call out Yukimura! And then it's Oyakata-sama! And then basically just fighting, and it's like one of the points of hilarity. During basically, I think all of the different versions of Sengoku Basara, that's like a major funny point that they do.
Yeah.
But what I felt about Ranju Tomu's Yukimura was that they show a lot of emotional depth in the musical. So he's a fiery character who really likes fighting. I mean, they all seem to like fighting, actually, essentially all the characters. But he also has this kind of depth to it that you were talking about. Like, they make it more serious. They make him a multifaceted character. Because in the anime version that I've seen was basically just about fighting and just enjoying fighting and fighting honorably. And that was kind of all there was to him, in a sense. But yeah, so I like that they've made him into a well-rounded character. I quite like that.
Yeah, he gets a bit of development in the Tokusatsu series, but the Tokusatsu series relies on him and Date Masamune, who we'll talk about later, as co-protagonists. So it's like more character development in how to play nicely with others than anything else. Also, frankly, Ranju Tomu is a lot more mature than anyone else who's playing Sanada Yukimura. Just age-wise and maturity-wise.
I just really like Ranju Tomu in this role. Like, she brings a lot to it, I think. She brings a lot to the character. Like, she brings a lot to the character that never existed before.
Yeah. She's so good. One thing before we move to the next character, if you're watching the show, like, in Japanese and trying to understand it, because like the old-timey speak is really hard. Takeda Shingen is called Kai no Tora, which is the tiger of Kai, just because he's, big, tough dude from Kai. And later on, Sanada Yukimura kind of inherits that, and he spends a lot of time being called the young tiger of Kai. So what is it? Kai no wakaki tora. Just if you're trying to figure out who's talking about who, because often they're not actually using the characters' names. So yeah, that will make it easier to understand.
So Sanada Yukimura kind of has an upgrade, like a level up, and gets like a nice new hairdo and some new prongs on his tridenty things, and it's all good. But then he loses the hair.
Let's talk about Inori.
I actually really like
Yes,
Inori.
because all of the... She's so cute!
She is so precious! I don't know if you guys have seen...
Hana.
I bet you have seen it, Kitty-chan, but I don't know if our listeners have seen it, but it's the photo that's around the internet of Ranohana in this yellow outfit with a little bird perched on her finger. That's from this show. But Inori, the character...
She's completely original. She's completely original to the show. And is somewhat made of spoilers, so we can't go quite as in-depth with some of the other... as we would with some of the other people.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah?
But we will mention some things that make it easier for you to understand what is going on when you watch it. So we won't tell you everything that happens, but enough so that you will actually understand what is going on. If you're not all that hyped on Japanese, then it might actually... Because there are some things that I only understood the fourth time I watched this show. And that's after watching the anime and just like... Yeah, being really into it. So that it could be a bit difficult.
Yeah.
But Inori, she has a really sunny disposition. She is a well-liked person. She's an orphan. And she was saved by Yukimura in the beginning of the show. And she has amazing boots as well, which is a good character point, obviously. And she seems like quite a weak character whose main point of identification is the fact that she loves Sanada Yukimura. But as the show goes on, she shows new facets of herself. So she becomes a really strong character by the end of this show, which I really enjoy, because in the Sengoku Basara anime, they have most of the female characters that they do have are very weak and they are treated badly by evil men, etc. And even the strong female ninja character becomes this weak little wimpy thing who needs to be saved by men all of the time. But Inori, she grows into a really, really strong character, which I really love. So I think Zuka did fantastically with her, seeing as since she is an original character.
It's also worth noting, this show is, the character groups are heavily reliant on color schemes. So Sanada Yukimura's crew wears red, and the other set we're going to talk about later usually wears blue, and Inori is the only person in the show who wears yellow. So she is her own person with her own color scheme.
Let's move on to the next crew then, which is the Date Masamune crew. And I know that you really enjoy these guys.
What is the name of their territory? So I can't remember it.
No, I can't remember it either. But they are the Date clan. So, no, I can't remember. Okay. Unfortunately.
We can't remember where they're from.
Do they really mention it that much?
It comes up a fair bit because there's like a lot of like war room type discussion. So sometimes it gets confusing if you don't know the territories. But it must not be that bad if we both can't remember. And
he's not that massive a character in the show. Like, he's not in focus the way he is in the tokusatsu and in the anime. He doesn't have the kind of equal airtime with Sanada Yukimura the way they do in the other versions of Sengoku Basara.
He's got a lot smaller role and spends most of the show as semi-allies with Kenshin, is that correct? At some point I got confused as to what or is he just his own?
He's his own dude, basically. He enjoys fighting.
Yeah, he comes Yeah, he comes from another character set that doesn't really turn up in this story arc. So Date Masamune is kind of his own deal. Um, and Harukaze Misato, who I love, but haven't seen in much, is the best Date Masamune, but they wasted her with only like 2 scenes, and I'm like, I was robbed! Cause the trouble is Date Masamune's main shtick is random English, and apparently they wouldn't let Harukaze Misato. I mean I don't have confirmation of this, but from her dialogue, she was they weren't letting her use bad words, so her English powers were severely reduced. But yeah, she gets 2 cool fights with one or 2 cool fights with Sanada Yukimura, and steals completely Ocean's 11 style, steals every scene she's in.
Yeah, so yeah.
It's like, yeah, this yeah.
So Date Masamune, he's called the one-eyed dragon occasionally, and he has 6 katanas that he holds between his fingers. It's ridiculous, but he holds them between his fingers, right? And then I want to do just the Date Masamune English because I think it's hilarious. So these are a few lines from the anime, and I have not gone for the cussing because he does a lot of cussing, but because they think that it's okay apparently. But so he says, "So crazy, show guns up, psych up, guys. You doing okay?" It's like, what is that? What is that?
And then in the tokusatsu, which I'm not gonna do anyways, well, it's like, "Are you ready to party?" Because the subtitle of the tokusatsu is Moonlight Party. So.
Oh God! Yeah.
It's
so
it's
Date Masamune is a well glorious. Of joy.
Yes. I have to say, if you become more interested in Sengoku Basara, he is epic in the Tokusatsu series, but not as epic as Harukaze Misato. But he has more time to do things that she was robbed of. Okay.
All right. Are we going to move on to the meteor?
Yes. Okay. We're going to move on. Okay, yes.
So now we're going to talk about Uesugi Kenshin, which is Mirio's role, and she is absolutely fabulous.
Yes.
All right, so
yes,
I would like to explain. I would like to explain the outfit. So I don't know if you can explain this outfit because, well, in the anime, Kenshin has a ridiculous puffy collar thing that's kind of makes you think about like a French clown from like a couple of centuries ago, and then he has these incredible abs. He is collar and abs. That's basically Uesugi Kenshin in the anime. It's ridiculous, and it's just like white skin tight stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on, but Mirio's outfit does not have the puffy collar thing, and I don't know whether to be grateful or disappointed.
I'm grateful because
it's so funny.
They also fixed up her like hairdo thing to make her look more beautiful. To because Mirio must look beautiful all the time. But I think it might be because Uesugi Kenshin in history was like an actual member of the Buddhist clergy. So I'm wondering the collar thing is related to that, but please do not quote me if this is wrong, because I really don't know anything.
I don't know if he was in the clergy, but I do know that Uesugi Kenshin wasn't actually an Uesugi. He was adopted into the Uesugi family because they were like, oh, you are awesome in general, you should join our family. And I mean, I think that's perfect casting, because I would adopt Mirio into my family because of general awesomeness. So, I mean, that's just perfect. But I don't know if he was in the clergy.
Coincidentally, Mirio had just been incorporated into Flower Troop, so there's that. This was her very first show with Flower Troop, and she doesn't get introduced for quite a long time, maybe 30 minutes or so, but once she turns up, it's just a general flow of epicness from then on, and I'm not at all biased at all. No bias whatsoever.
You know, like, her portrayal of Kenshin is perfect, absolutely, at least from the anime. Like, her intense Kenshin smile face is the best thing.
And just her whole Kenshin voice is the best. The best.
There is also a great fight scene, and she gets 6 swords run through her simultaneously twice, and like, she makes these full body jerks, and her posture throughout is just, it's fantastic. I can kind of feel it going, just like, oh my god, because it's so great. So I think that's a really good scene, and she has just everything perfect because she is Mirio, and that's the way Mirio does it, you know.
All the perfect.
Oh, also, and in her outfit, Kenshin's anime abs, they turned into large hexagonal studs on her outfit, and I actually think that Mirio's Kenshin looks a lot better than the anime Kenshin ever did.
Yeah, like, no matter how cool the character is, the outfits were pretty silly in all the other franchises. Yeah, Takarazuka again makes the franchise more sane. In the Tokusatsu series, because the thing is, Kenshin in the Sengoku Basara franchise is always played by a woman. In the anime, it's Nomi Paku, and obviously they don't have to adjust the costume to allow for her. But in the Tokusatsu series in 2009, she's played by a actress whose name I forget, but who was then in Kamen Rider. She played one of my favorite Kamen Rider female characters, actually. But at the time, she was like super new, and they did give her the silly collar, and they did give her a very silly hat. But she was not. I am not sure what the director was going for, but I basically count Kenshin as a female character in the Tokusatsu series because the actress was very much not convincing. Although she looked fine. She looked perfectly fine, and also sadly she was never given a fight scene just for time and plot reasons. So she's more of a help from wiser person who is more sane than these hot-blooded kids who are just doing all these ridiculous things and almost get killed. Oh my goodness, stop. The actress is extremely good, and I'm a bit sad she didn't try to do more of the dude thing, but she was basically just an actress in pants. Mirio, though! Yeah. Mirio!
Mirio's amazing.
I have to say that before Sengoku Basara, I'd only seen Mirio in a Japanese set show once, and it was a pretty small role. And she looks so good in the kimono in the finale. And the whole dance bit, I know this is getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but she's so beautiful in the finale of this show. I was
Mirio is always beautiful. I just cannot with like, how does she do that?
It's unfair. It's not fair, Mirio. Don't do that.
How were you this blessed by genetics? I cannot understand it. It's just, it blows my mind. Mirio, I love you. It's great. Hi. So are we going to talk a bit about Kasuga as well, maybe?
Yeah, so now we have the rest of Kenshin's crew, which the only character out of Kenshin's crew in the musical who's important to the plot is his ninja buddy girlfriend
Kasuga.
thing. Ambiguous, it's complicated relationship, Kasuga. But we're also going to talk about old Torimayu's character, Usami Sadamitsu, because old Torimayu must get talked about in all things because she is adorable. And, can't argue with this, even though she never does anything important to the plot and just stands there and kind of sparkles in her little hakama vest.
Yeah, her mere
thing.
existence just lights up Kitty-chan's day. It's just, that's the way it is.
Yes. Yeah, so old Torimayu is basically just one of Sanada's war advisor vassal subcommanders, and doesn't really do much, but she gets some lines and is very cute through the whole thing. Please watch for her. If you watch it, you will not be sorry. Yes. Okay, we can talk about Kasuga now.
Kasuga is in love with Kenshin, and she fell in love with him when she was about to assassinate him, and then
best time to fall in love with someone.
Absolutely. But I understand, I understand the feeling, and then basically she decided that she was going to be his ninja, and then she makes like these ridiculous noises every time he says anything nice to her, and he calls her his flower and stuff. I think his beautiful flower, and then he just goes like oh, and
yeah, I think he calls her his sword. Or his blade. Tsurugi. Yeah. Again with the often not using the names. Also, Kenshin is regularly called Gunshin, which is kind of his nom de guerre. It means god of war. Yeah, and he was known that historically because he was that awesome. Yeah, just general confusion with the names. But Kasuga in the anime has quite the outfit. And yet again, Takarazuka makes it more sane. And it's still incredibly skimpy, but they gave her a teeny little skirt and a modesty panel.
Yeah, but I think because they actually cover her in fabric, so you know that she has support for the body parts that need to be supported, which she does not in the anime. And she's a ninja. If anyone needs support, it's a female ninja. You just need stuff to be where there should be when you're doing backflips and when you're trying to, crawl into bedrooms and assassinate people. That's not the time to pop one out. You need to actually know that bits are where they're supposed to be. And just that frustrated me so much every time I saw her on screen. Of course she can't do anything, even though she's a ninja, because she doesn't have the right clothes on. I mean, seriously. Arr, arr. Yeah.
But she's very good in the musical. Although she doesn't have a giant part, but she obviously has backstory with Sasuke, and they have kind of cute, funny banter from time to time, because ninjas. In the Tokusatsu series, she and Sasuke have a lot of interaction, but they found an actress who is willing to wear the costume. I don't know if this is why she's maybe not the best, but she's basically wearing the anime costume in the Tokusatsu series, and I don't know how they kept it on, because I felt bad for her, because she's like running around in the woods.
Oh god, I can only imagine. That must have been terrible.
And
oh god,
for some reason Takarazuka always has functional blonde wigs. Very rarely is there a blonde wig in Takarazuka that looks bad, but almost any other Japanese live-action franchise, when there's a blonde wig, I'm like, I'm feeling so bad for the person wearing that. And that is Kasuga in the live-action. But yeah, her and Kenshin have good scenes in the live-action, but otherwise she was utilized terribly well.
I think it might be that Zuka does like lots of good makeup that goes well with the wigs, potentially.
Yeah, they do better making the doing skin tone matching.
Yeah, so basically
and
Zuka are
such.
pros, everyone else, let's just do the wig. That'll show them that this is the right character, and then it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, Zuka is high class. High class, you guys, it's high class. And then, but there is a moment when they're doing this number where Kasuga is sitting in front of Meteor, or sitting in front of Usugi Kenshin, and she's doing like this. It's a really cool arm movement. She has knives in her hands, and they extend like they're kind of like wings. The shape of her arms becomes kind of like wings, and it's really, really cool. And it's Osaki Ayaka. So I just want to shout out to her. That was really, really great. But then,
Yay.
you know, I keep thinking about that thing, you know, with Mirio and having knives, Kitty, the way with Tybalt and everything. And then I'm like, you should not be that close to Mirio if you have knives. That's not a good idea. Just keep the knives away from her. She can have the sword. That's fine. Oh, and the sword in this show,
amazing.
It's Kenshin's sword in this show is like ridiculously long. So Mirio can't unsheath it.
As tall
she can't unsheath it herself. She has to have this other Cien holding the cover, and then she'll pull the katana out, and then she'll do the fight scene. But she can't do it by herself, and it's ridiculous, and I love it.
That also happened when in Date Masamune's scene they had to do some sneakery to get the swords out. Yeah, amazingly for someone who's literally called the god of war, Mirio is surprisingly not steppy in this show. like she's very calm and collected and kind of a icy character, because Kenshin's motif is kind of the snowflakes and ice. Whereas Yukimura has fire, because in this show, they're the ones who are more against each other, as in unlike other franchises. But I have to say the ninja appearance effects in this show are really impressive, because I think it's the trapdoors in this theater are unlike some of the other Takarazuka ones, because they just seem to have smaller trapdoors that move way faster. And sometimes it's a little scary because they're literally shooting Kasuga up through the stage. And I'm like, please keep your hands inside the vehicle. You know, but yeah, everyone is fine. Yeah, everyone's fine. But yeah, the ninja effects are really good for a live action show.
And one of the things that I think it would be good to mention, so that this is obvious when you're watching it, so that you understand what's going on. Sasuga appears in the shape of Kenshin.
Kasuga.
I said Sasuga, didn't I? Oh.
Sasuga.
Kasuga appears, but you think it's Kenshin, and she has a battle, and then like during the battle, Sasuke turns up and goes like, I know who you are, and then it's revealed that it's Kasuga and not Kenshin. So Kasuga appeared in the shape of Kenshin, and that happens again later on with another character appearing in the shape of Kenshin.
Basically, the ninjas can do the whole thing from Naruto where they're pretending to be somebody else. Yeah, but if you're taking everything on stage literally, sometimes it can get confusing. But on the whole, the effects are incredibly good, and the suspension of disbelief is really, really well handled.
Yes, I really enjoy this show. I think it's really good. I would also like to talk a bit about the music, if that's okay. Ranjitomu and Ranohana, they are not the strongest vocalists, but especially Ranjitomu, they managed to show off her voice really well in this show. Like it's really well placed vocally for her. And Ranohana, there are the occasional sharp and flat notes because it's a bit high. Yeah, it's, you know, occasionally, but she's so like, bless her, she does her best, and she's so cute and precious, and like, I mean, 100% for effort. she's really good in doing the best she can and everything. And
Yeah.
I think on the whole, it like her performance is really, really good, even vocally. And the best song in the play, aside from the last Basara, so that's the main song of the whole thing. And so aside from that, the best song is when Sasuke is singing to Kasuga, because it's Daimon singing, and Daimon should always be singing, and it's great.
I especially like Kenshin's intro song, but a lot of that is because it's Kenshin's intro song. But it's also a very good song. It's really good. Yes.
So, I mean, I was surprised because I was not expecting it to be all that great vocally and musically. Like, I wasn't expecting it. So when it turns out that it is actually really quite nice, that was like a pleasant surprise. So, and also I wanted to mention Ayashiro Ria. Because in the last Basara, the last time when they go in for the Basara, it started off by her singing, so Ayashiro Ria, and she just sounds so amazing. She just comes on stage and she's on the stairs and she just belts out this amazing intro, and then they just everything blows up around her, and it's like amazing. Just musically, I really loved her starting. So good, guys. Yay. Watch this show.
Yes. At one point, there's a song. It's the kind of the Kai group's war theme, and I was trying so hard to figure out what they were saying for the longest time, but there's this really old military motto that is the Takeda Shingen's war motto, and it's Furin Kazan. So it's 4 kanji, which is wind, forest, fire, mountain. Takeda Shingen actually has those on his costume.
Yeah, but he also has something on his elbows, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he has Furin on his elbow guards and Kazan on his knee guards. Yeah, so that's what that is. In The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which I think was written during the Chinese Warring States period. So of course the Japanese borrowed it when they were having their very own Warring States period.
That's how you do it. You borrow from China.
Furin Kazan borrows and paraphrases as swift as wind, as silent as forest, as fierce as fire, as unshakable as mountain. So that's kind of the Takeda and the Kai crew's war ideal. And it gets a whole song, which I thought was a cool song.
Shall we move on to talking about the review?
Yes, the finale
is a game of let's play what did the choreographer have in his cleaning cupboard, and they have purple ropes, and it's a bit reminiscent of, because there's a character that's called Yume, Dream, and Yume has draped fabric on her arms.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot.
But there is a character called Dream.
She's kind of a metaphysical character.
But anyway, so in the review, they come out wearing Japanese garb, and then they have these purple ropes that look a bit like, they are draped a bit like the way Yume's yellow dress has draped fabric on her arms. And then they do like a dance with them, and Mirio kind of looks super smug somehow. I mean, she's beautiful, but she looks a bit smug, like,
yeah.
And then
it's because she knows she's really good at the Japanese dance.
She's like, I'm the best.
She was so pretty. She was so pretty in the finale.
But then she puts her hands into her sleeves, and she has like T-Rex arms for a bit, and she does like this flappy thing, and I'm like, what is this? This is hilarious. It's so, even the mental picture I have of it is still just the funniest thing. So if you just need one reason to watch Sengoku Basara that's 1 second long, it's that clip. Just Mirio going T-Rex arm and looking super smug. It's ridiculous. She kills me.
Yeah.
All right, and then they have these black mops that they wave around. So basically, the choreographer had ropes and black mops in his cleaning cupboard, and then Ranjutomo, she has a red mop because Ranjutomo needs a red mop. That's just the way it is. And I mean, they might not have the cleaning skills, but they look fabulous, you know.
I mean, considering how in the Takarazuka Academy they spend so much time cleaning, they probably do have the cleaning skills.
They probably do have the cleaning skills. That's true, but not in this dance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They just do a little bit of sweepy, but not many. They don't do the corners. You know, you have to always do the corners. That's how you do things. But then after that, they do a little sensu fan dance, and they show off their fantabulous skills.
It was so beautiful.
It is. It's really good. They're just like, look at us going with these fans. We can do this. So good. And then in the pair dance that Ran does, they are wearing really huge costumes. They look super heavy.
I'm sorry. Those pair dance costumes. Why was Ranjutomo wearing zebra fabric?
I don't know.
Why? They don't have... I mean, it could possibly be that they were going for like white tiger, but that was zebra fabric. It really was zebra fabric.
That wasn't tiger. No.
Yeah, it was not. I was completely with the review and really, really into it, and then they come out in those, and I'm like...
No, it had not occurred to me at all that it might be white tiger that they were going for. It was just like, okay, zebra, whatever, it's fine. Okay. White tiger, that's cool.
Yeah, but it still screams zebra. You can't... It takes, multiple days to go, oh! Were they trying to do that?
But they are graceful. They are graceful zebras on the stage, and they do lots of poses and sweeping motions and.
Yeah, it's a lovely dance, but the costumes are pretty awkward.
It must be so hot though, like because that was a lot of fabric. It must have been super hot.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah,
but it was pretty loose.
Yeah, I guess.
My thing is that I think Mayu's Yukimura costume must have been really heavy. Cause it has like that giant belt sitting right on her diaphragm. So I'm wondering if in the recording I'm watching that caused some vocal issues. Because I was like, you okay there? Anyway, yes, the finale is nice until a wild zebra.
A wild zebra appears and steals the show. It's great. So I enjoyed this show a lot, and
yes,
the vocals are pretty well matched to the abilities of each Sien, and there is some spot-on hilarious dancing. And I think that for anyone who loves a bit of crack, this is a super duper fantastic show to watch, and I hope that this review corner enables you to watch it. If you haven't studied a lot of Japanese, I hope that we're able to help you understand what's going on.
Yeah, but honestly, because of the sheer this is one of the shows that lets all of the actresses go all out with the hamminess, because sometimes they're like, no, you have to be sedate and really cool, okay? Be cool. But this show is they get to do all the fun things, and it's awesome. And you really don't need to know what's going on to enjoy it. As I know, because I watched the whole thing and I'm like, I love this show so much, and then I'm like, let us explain what happened. But yeah, I did my final presentation for 4th year Japanese on Sengoku Basara, by which I mean Uesugi Kenshin. and yes.
So a personal anecdote for me about Sengoku Basara was that I had just watched it for the first time when I started my history class in Japanese history, and on the first lesson, the first thing that the teacher asked us was, okay, so when I say Japanese history, what are the first words that you think about? And I went, Usugi Kenshin. And he was like, oh my god, nobody has ever said Usugi Kenshin before. That's like really rare. Why did you think of Usugi Kenshin? And I was just like, I cannot tell my teacher that my entire life is about Mirio. So I went, I guess he's interesting. And
I told my Japanese teacher.
But yes, Sengoku Basara, go watch it if you can. It's great.
Yes.
Any final words, Kitty, before I thank the listeners?
No, basically just Basara.
Oh, Basara. Hey.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
All right.
I'm done now.
Thank you so much for listening to this review corner. I hope we managed to convince you that Sengoku Basara is well worth a watch and provided you with enough background info for you to fully grasp this cracktastic show. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.